Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of The MCR. Mac and me. My name's TJ. In this segment, I'd like to talk about something uh, I've kind of put on the back burner for, I wasn't really 100% up on, and I don't know if I'm 100% up on it even now, but I heard something, and it's disconcerting, and it involves Texas politics. Okay, and we need Texas to remain Republican, or we don't stand a chance in the electoral college.
Zero chance.
So
Can't
so
win.
therein lies my big picture concern. Okay. Okay. So for those that aren't quite aware, Texas had an attorney general with the name Ken Paxton, and he had been brought up on 16 charges of corruption and bribery. They were trying to make it sound like people were fixing his house or something, and that was the de facto payoff. And I don't quite know the specifics of any of it, other than to say, at the end of the day, they could produce no evidence. Zero evidence has ever been produced of the what they were accusing him of. And on the as a Michigander looking at the situation in Texas, I began to view it as the Texas state level version of Donald Trump, really. You
Yeah.
know, what was happening to Ken Paxton was a state level of Donald Trump. And especially when I heard that there were some Republicans with the Democrats going after Paxton. And what I couldn't figure out was initially, I'll say initially because I do know now, but initially I was wondering what is possessing Texas Republicans to side with some Democrats going after what appeared to be a very conservative Republican. Well, a lot of things have been made known, I would tell you, in the last 3 or 4 days. Ken Paxton, he's a Trump supporter. The Republicans, siding with the Democrats, were exposed to be rhinos. But it's worse than that. These Republicans have associations with George P. Bush and Karl Rove. And
They're two fine Americans.
George P. Bush is the son of Jeb Bush out of Florida, the same Jeb Bush that Donald Trump tore up in the 2016 or 2015 primary. Okay.
Yeah, Trump tore him up, but he tore himself up by saying he basically wanted open borders because it's an act of love.
Yeah.
That disqualified in everyone's mind.
And like I said, initially I was trying to figure out why were these Republicans siding with the Democrats. And then I find out that these very Republicans, Rhino Republicans, have an association or affiliation with the Bush family and Karl Rove. And I got to tell you, the more I hear about Karl Rove, the more disgust I have for that guy.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit in my mind.
Now, as of the other day, Ken Paxton has been acquitted of the 16 charges, and I believe the final tally of votes was 14 voted to convict, 16 voted to acquit. And 2 of the 14 were Republicans, state senators Kelly Hancock and Robert Nichols. Okay, those were the 2 Republicans that sided with 12 Democrats. Now they needed 21, so obviously they were way short of the 21 required to convict. But more than that, they didn't even get a majority. So that was good too. So like I said, in a nutshell, Ken Paxton was acquitted of the 16 charges. Okay. Now, for those who like courtroom drama, I would suggest I would suggest there's a Ryan Vassar, Vassar, and he took the stand in accusing Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton, one of his attorneys by the name of Mitch Little, tore him up on the stand. Tore him up big time. And you know what? If you go to YouTube and put in the search bar Ryan Vassar testimony, and the whole thing is about like over an hour long. Pretty quickly into this hour-long video, Mitch Little is just eating him alive and gets him to confess on the stand that they went to the FBI with no evidence. And because he kept saying good faith charges, good faith this, good faith that. And Mitch Little just tore him up. And if you want to see some good courtroom drama video, I would really suggest you watch that. And it was just, and like I said, with me being from Michigan, at first, initially, while I was concerned, I didn't really know a whole lot of what was going on. And it was one of those situations that the more I found out about, the more infuriated I became. And your thoughts so far, Mac?
Well, the whole thing is disturbing to me because it's another example of if I want to shut you up or I don't like you or you're my opponent I think might win in an election, I'm going to get you charged and put in jail. And I'll use the corrupt, and it ought to be disbanded immediately once President Trump retakes office. And then, we can tear it down. In fact, they could literally tear down the Hoover building, change it to the Trump building, and start over. But it's this whole mindset, and we have it going here in Michigan, where our corrupt Dana Nessel, our Attorney General, who flies around this state on a broom, she's such a witch. If they don't like you, they'll try to charge you criminally and put you in jail. This is right out of the old Soviet Union. Countries, there are too many to list that have done these kind of things. And Americans should be very concerned, although I think most of them aren't, because they have their head up their ass about people getting executed at Gitmo and aliens and yada, yada, yada with their nutty conspiracy theories.
Well, here we are. We have high road Republicans siding with the Democrats on trumped up charges, pardon the pun. And I'll tell you what, in the video where Mitch Little was really, really tearing into this Ryan Vassar, it got heated, and the attorney that was I'll say prosecuting Ken Paxton, he complains, Your Honor, the witness doesn't need to be yelled at, and the decibel level was raised, but that goes to the emotional back and forth that developed as the guy's up there hemming and hawing, and of course he's on the stand. If he gets caught lying, he's
nothing's going to happen to him is what's going to happen. And that's one of our major problems in this country. Perjury has become acceptable. There's no consequence. It ought to be a major crime. I don't know if it is a felony, but it ought to be a felony. And you ought to get a minimum of 15 years. You ought to get at least as much as a guy got for shaking the fence on January 6th. 15 to 20 years in prison for perjury.
Yep. And overall, here, I'll tell you right now, we got rhinos in Michigan that are just as bad as these two down in Texas.
I would tell you probably worse. And just ask yourself this question: if you find yourself standing with a Democrat, where are you right about anything?
Yeah,
because they're wrong about everything.
Well, Paxton was a Trump supporter. In
Bush, that's the crux of it. Then they're going to punish it.
Bush and Karl Rove, his gaggle was out to teach Paxton a lesson, and the one witness gets up on the stand, that Vassar guy, and I'll tell you what, to say he was shredded is not an understatement by any means. And like I said, if you want to watch some good courtroom drama. I don't think they could have written a better movie script.
I'll tell you the remedy for this is for some conservative prosecutor to find charges on Karl Rove and put him in prison. Maybe when the pendulum swings the other way, it'll stop.
You know, one of the final points I'd like to make here is, oh yeah, now, you know what? These two rhinos, Kelly Hancock and Robert Nichols, they want to side with the Democrats. The gloves are off. They're out to primary these two pieces of excrement out of office. Okay. So it begins, you know, so it
got to
begins.
be a price to pay. Going to play these communist games. You got to be a price.
I'm very glad Ken Paxton came out of this. Like initially, I was a little worried, though I didn't quite understand everything. And then all of a sudden, it seemed to me I was watching a news report or something, and in watching the news report, whoever was, and I can't even remember where it was, just thrown out that Republicans known to associate with Bush and Karl Rove were siding with the Democrats, and as soon as that caught my ear, I said, "Man, I got to look into this now." And like I said, the deeper I dug into this, the more infuriated I became, you know. And you know, I just here, you know, more pieces of excrement, high road Republicans, I would tell you.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, so much for, you know, being the wise ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So okay. That's all I got for this one, and thank goodness, you know, I don't know if it's, I don't know, the battle's hardly over down in Texas, but Paxton won for the first round, so bravo to that, okay, and bravo to that attorney. You know what? Next time you bring your piece of excrement charges, man, you better have something there, because this guy tore him up bad, up on the stand. I don't know how this guy could even remain in politics after he was shredded up there on the stand, I would tell you. But you know what? I guess if you're a liberal, it doesn't really matter.
Nope.
You know? So
couldn't agree more.
And you know what? And I'll keep ranting on that, so I guess I'll stop. And that's all I got for this one. Catch you in the next one. As always, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.